Hello and welcome to a new episode of Ice Hockey Connect Talk Show. Today we have a special guest, a guest that have experienced hockey from many angles. He was drafted in 2015 for Anaheim Ducks. Then he had the NCAA pathway, and then he turned professional player. Now he's assistant coach at Long Island University, and he's helping the new generations of goalies. So, Gareth, welcome to our talk show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. First of all, please tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. Utah is not a hockey hotbed. We now have the Mammoth, which is in the NHL, but we never really had high-level professional hockey. There's many sports that are popular there, but hockey's not one of them. So I played there till I was about 16 years old, and then I moved away and kind of started my path that way. I won't list all the states that I played in, but I moved away to play minor hockey. I then changed and went to the USHL for 2 years, and then I ended up going to Division I college hockey for 5 years before turning pro. And I was up and down between the American Hockey League and the ECHL for about 5 years.
Was it always goalie, or you played first as a field player?
So I was a player and a goalie. I think it was up until my first or second year of U14. I did both, and then I had to kind of switch to goalie full time. I always wanted to play goalie, but I also loved playing player. I think I was better at goalie, so I'd say roughly around 14 is when I made the switch to be a full-time goaltender.
Was it too late? 14?
No.
When you had the click, let's say, for switching to goalie, what happened?
I just devoted more time to the position, I guess. I knew that that was the path I was going to take. I love playing hockey in general, but I think when you're younger, it's valuable to play different positions, different sports. Like, I think that you just see the game differently. It gives you a different perspective, a better understanding of your environment. So, I mean, honestly, I think it really helped for my development to be able to see the game as a forward, and then also as a goalie.
Do you believe that being a field player helped you as a goalie afterwards in your career?
Yeah, 100%. So I talked about like just knowing the game better, seeing it from a different perspective, but I'm a big believer that the goalies have to be the best skaters on the ice. And when you hear that or parents hear that, I feel like they think that you're saying like they have to be the fastest or they have to have the best edges or, whatever their experience is. But for me, like in balance and edge work, if you're a very good skater, it translates in the net. So it's different skating than what people might think, but I ultimately think that goalies generally are at the highest level some of the best skaters on the ice.
In 2015, you were drafted at Anaheim Ducks on the NHL. How did it change your life? What happened?
I mean, I don't think a lot changed. I think that I was fortunate enough that I got to go to development camps in the summer. There was more eyes on me. The organization obviously wanted to see how I was doing, so they kept track of my progress. But I think if anything, if I could go back and, give advice to my younger self, I don't think I took my foot off the gas, but I feel like it made me a little bit comfortable that where I was at and what I was doing was good enough. But it was good enough for where I was at. It wasn't good enough for where I wanted to go and who I wanted to be in playing in the NHL. I think a lot of times people think that getting drafted in the NHL is the most unbelievable thing in the world, and it's a great experience. It truly is. But I think if you don't get drafted in, the top 3 rounds, it's also pretty hard because if you take the same path and you don't have that team tied to you, so to speak, you have 30-something odd other teams that you can now sign with. Where you're stuck with that one team if you're drafted for, a number of years and you can't go anywhere else. So again, I think it was a great experience and I was super grateful for the opportunity to have my name called at the NHL Draft. It's something that you dream of happening. So for that to come true was truly something special. But I don't think it was like this big moment that really changed my life. I honestly don't know if it ever hit me that I was drafted in the NHL. You know, like, again, going to the camps was great, but I wasn't at the draft. I was with my goalie coach in Pittsburgh, watching it on the TV, and I was elated to hear my name. I actually found out from my agent that I got drafted, and again, what came after was great, but it's not like this overwhelming experience, you know. So, but you know, it was a good opportunity, and really grateful to have had that happen.
Did you feel more pressure about after the drafting?
At moments in my career, yes, but also at moments in my career, no. I think, like I told you, I was playing junior hockey when that happened, so I felt like I got a little bit comfortable, where I probably should have used that as like, I have a lot of work to do to get where I want to go. But then, yeah, like, I mean, pressure in college when I wanted to sign an NHL contract, I wanted to do super well. But also, like, you know, pressure is a privilege. And I was fortunate enough to have had the pressure and have that privilege of trying to prove myself and trying to make a name for myself to be able to sign an NHL contract.
What age were you when it happened, the draft?
So I was actually 19. I got drafted in my second draft year, not my first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is happening as experience? I would like to know, especially for the young players that are watching. What is happening exactly after you're being drafting?
Yeah, so running through the draft, as I mentioned, I was in Pittsburgh working with my goalie coach. I was watching the draft on TV, but after like the first 3 rounds or 4 rounds, they kind of go back through the interviews of the first round players. So the draft's at like the bottom of the TV, and it takes a little bit for the next pick to kind of pop up. So I had it on my phone and I was refreshing it, especially as it got towards the round I knew I would go in, which was like 5 through 7. I ended up going early in the 6th round. And my agent called me, and I kind of was like, Nort's like, why are you calling me? I'm trying to look at the draft to see what happened. And then he was like, do you know what happened? And I was like, no. And then he was like, you were just picked, like, congratulations. So I actually didn't even see it pop up. I got the phone call first, and then I saw it. And then, I mean, kind of in a whirlwind of experience, my phone started blowing up, text messages from people, phone calls from the organization. And then they go into like, where are you? You have to come in for development camp, which is like 2 days after the draft. I had planned on going to a wedding, and that obviously got canceled. So you got to pack your life up pretty quickly and ship off to Anaheim. And then you go through development camp, which was a great experience. Like, guys that I was at camp with now are now full-time NHLers. Brandon Montour, Troy Terry, Max Jones, like some unbelievable guys. So that was a really cool experience. But yeah, I mean, a whirlwind, especially from, you know, if you look at my path beforehand, my last year of U18 AAA, it was my first year before I went to the USHL, I was a backup. I only played 10 games. My goalie partner played the large majority of them. I got invited to a USHL camp. It was the only camp I was going to for the entire summer. There was probably 40 goalies there. I was one of 40. I wasn't on the list. And I went in and just took advantage of the opportunity, and I ended up making the team. I was only supposed to be a backup. I was only supposed to play 15 games. I ended up playing 33. I ended up committing to UMass Lowell halfway through the year, and then I ended up getting drafted in the NHL. So within, I wouldn't even say 365 days, I was a U18 AAA backup to a starter in the USHL to an NHL draft pick with a college commitment. So, you know, it was just a complete 180-degree turn from where my career was, I guess, going. Like, I had planned on going back to play AAA for another year.
From your point of view, do you believe it's harder or easier as a goalie to be drafted?
That's really tough because I don't even know if I can answer that question, to be honest with you, because players too, like, there's so many of them, and there's fewer goalies, but there's fewer positions. So, I mean, I'd be curious. I don't even know what it was, but I'd be curious to see how many kids or how many goalies were even picked in the year that I was drafted, or what even the average number of goalies picking in any given draft is. I can't imagine it's very many. And the other part is, you know, coming over here to Switzerland, like, the NHL draft is not for North America. The NHL draft is for the world. So you're in, let's say 20 goalies, you're in the top 20 of however many goalies at that age level. So pretty crazy.
If you could get back in time, what would you change?
I think I would have worked a little bit harder than I did. I was joking with one of the parents earlier. I wish I could take all the knowledge I have now and give it to myself at 15. I mean, obviously just the experiences you go through, the maturity, how you approach the game, the things that you think about, the things you don't get mad about anymore. just so much life experience that I feel like if you could put inside my mind at 15 years old, the things I would have focused on would have been drastically different than they were.
Do you believe that this age, around 15 years old, it's really important on a hockey player life, like career?
I would say close, like 15, 16, yeah, are very vital years. I think that's where you're probably looking to be playing at the highest level, but not just playing at the highest level to play on the best team, like actually playing at the highest level. So you're getting development, you're playing, you're getting those reps, you're getting that experience. And I would say around that age is kind of when you have to make the jump to be playing at the highest level. I know over here it's a little bit different. Maybe you have to move countries. Hopefully there's somewhere that's close, but that for me is when I had to leave the state of Utah. In a humble way, like I had outgrown where I was, and I needed a different experience, and I needed a more difficult journey, I guess, so to speak. Like I needed to be challenged. So
you left your home and you were in dorm room or billet family?
Yeah, billet family. So in the U.S. we have billet families, or host families is what they call them. So normally it's another player on your team takes you in and you live with him and their family. It's not always like that though. There's some billet families that have no association as far as their kids don't play on the team. Some often don't have kids. That's part of the reason that they take in kids. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You don't know what you're walking into. I've had great billet families. I've been very fortunate, but I've heard some horror stories of people not having good billet families. So I can't imagine as a parent sending your 15, 16-year-old kid to just go live with another family and just kind of drop them off at the door and knock and say, like, here you go, here's my kid, hoping that they're going to take care of them. But yeah, I was very fortunate to have a good experience.
What advice would you give to the parents that are not sure to go forward with this step with their children?
Yeah, I would say that, like, don't rush it. As I mentioned, 15, 16, I think is an important age, but I mean, we've also seen kids that don't leave till 16, 17, or 18, or maybe don't leave at all until they're, mature adults, that the parents feel comfortable with them being able to handle themselves. So, I mean, at the end of the day, hockey's great. It's not everything. It's not life. And you're making a big decision. And the other part of it is, everyone looks at the commitment that the kids have to make. It's a huge commitment for the parents. So I think just being aligned as a family on when you feel it's important or necessary to send your kids. But I would start looking closer to that 15, 16, 17 age year versus, I mean, you see kids that go 12, 13, 14. For me, I just believe that that's a little too young. They're still learning who they are. You don't want them to get stuck with the wrong crowd. Parents don't have total control over them. You don't really know the family that they're going to be living with. You don't know what their values are. So I would say, I mean, my biggest word of advice to parents is be patient and wait till not necessarily you feel comfortable, but you know that you can trust your kid.
Did you have an advisor as a young player?
I didn't have an advisor. I mean, in the States, and it happens, but the wording's weird, right? So like agent, family advisor, a lot of times they're the same thing. The hard part now, so my agent I got when I was 18. So when I played for that team where I told you I was the backup goalie, which was part of the confusion because I didn't play. And then my coach set me up with my family advisor, agent, whatever you want to call it. And their phrasing was, we think he could be the best prospect to come out of this youth organization. So you hear that, you're getting, handed a player advisor, and then you're not playing games. So it was really weird. But to answer your question, long story short, when I was 18 is when I first got my family advisor. Yeah.
After the draft, you took the NCAA path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What happens there exactly? What league did you play? How is happening all this stuff of NCAA? Because a lot of parents are interested, but actually we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers either. I can just talk about my experience. So when I played in the USHL, that's obviously the best junior hockey league you can play in the United States. The landscape is changing a little bit with CHL players now being able to go to the NCAA. When I was playing, that wasn't a possibility. So we would have college scouts at every single game. You wouldn't always talk to them, but more often than not, colleges would be coming to talk to you, or they had already talked to you and they wanted to watch you again. So throughout the year, there's a lot of conversations with colleges. And then you could have a big list, you could have a little bit smaller. And then as you have these conversations, you start to ask questions and do your own research to figure out what schools you want to narrow it down to. Important things would be like location. Do you want to move far away from your family? If you're coming from Europe, you're obviously going to be across the pond anyways. So maybe the location isn't as important. Maybe it is. So you look at that. You look at like maybe what you want to study. Does that college or that school offer something that interests you? Do you just want to go for the educational experience and you don't care about a specific major? What does their hockey program look like? Are they a high-end hockey program? That could be great, but where do you fit in the lineup and in the roster? Because you can go to the best school in the country, but if you're not playing, you're not going to get the experience or exposure that you need to continue to play hockey after college. So just think about what's important to you. Start to ask those questions. Start to do your own research. Narrow down that list. Once you get the list to 3, 4, maybe 5, then you start to go on visits, where you go and you see the school, you meet the coaching staff, hopefully some players on the team, get a feel for what campus is like, get a feel for what the town is like, and then again, get to ask more questions that are important to you or you're curious about, and then really kind of whittle it down until you make your final decision on where you want to play college hockey.
As a percentage, how much time you are on the ice and how much time you are at school?
In college?
Yes. When you're also a player.
Yeah, so I mean, college is you got to be dedicated. And you have to be dedicated to the education, because if you don't do well in school, you're not going to play. But to answer your question, I think that, roughly you practice, let's say between an hour and 2 hours every day. You probably have, let's say an hour in the gym every day, or at least 4 times a week. And then, classes could go from, depending on the day, let's say an average of 4 to 6 hours. And every college is different. Some are, practice and work out in the morning, and then you have all afternoon into the night to do school. Or some is you go to school and then you go to practice in the evening, or school, break, practice, and then school again after. So again, important questions. Are you a morning person? Do you like doing stuff in the morning? Do you not? You're probably going to have to get up early in college hockey anyways, but every school is different, but that's kind of the structure of school.
You continued in university. Now you are an assistant coach. And same, if you would give an advice to a 16 years old that is getting ready for the next step for the NCAA, what would that be?
Well, they have like the NCAA clearinghouse. I don't know exactly how all that stuff goes, but I know you kind of have to be registered and kind of get on the radar there. But talk to people like Kirill or Thibaut, like who have connections in the U.S. about how someone can either get eyes on you here, depending on the level that you're playing, or if you're interested or feel ready, like maybe try to make the jump to go to North America to then get in a league that you're going to get eyes on playing college hockey. But for me, I think it has to start at 16 with the kids and the parents on making those connections and finding people that you can trust, that are going to give you the right information and be truthful about what's going on, to ultimately help you get to a good position to hopefully to be able to play college hockey.
Well, coming back to the goalie thing.
Yep.
How important is the mental?
Just as important as the physical. You could be a great goalie, but the higher levels you go, one of the most important things is consistency. And for me, I think consistency starts in the mind. Your thoughts during the game, how do you bounce back from a goal, whether it's good or bad? How do you deal with adversities? How do you deal with not playing? For me, if you can't stay cool, calm, and collected in life in general, it's going to be very hard in a stressful and chaotic situation, especially in a position that is so pressure driven. They refer to it kind of like a quarterback in football. And that's part of the reason I was drawn to it. Like, quarterbacks in football and goalies in the NHL can win and or lose their team games. If you can't handle that, you're going to have a tough time moving on.
Are routines important?
Yeah, and that's a great one, because I think there's a difference between routine and superstition. I think routine help you get to the highest level you can play at, and I think superstitions sometimes get in your way. There's a lot of things that you can control, and there's a lot of things you can't control. And if you have certain superstitions that you're not able to do before a game or before a practice, it's going to throw off your mental ability to be able to perform at your best. But if you have a routine with, say, an hour amount of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is, I feel like those are things that, you know, if you do, are going to hopefully bring you or get you to the right place to be able to be successful on the ice. I think that's a great question, because I think it's good to have routines, but I don't think routines should turn into superstitions.
What other sport would you recommend for the goalies to play, not professional wise, but just to improve their concentration, their mobility?
It's not big in the States, but we've played a lot of soccer here. I think that's important just for like the stamina purposes. Also, I think that it's very different, but it's very similar. And whether they play goalie in soccer or not, I think just like the way you see the game, the way you see the field, hopefully can help you start to anticipate plays, make reads, which is so important for goaltending. When I was younger, I played football, I played baseball, I played basketball, I played soccer when I was very little. But for me, like baseball, the hand-eye, right? Like playing catcher, playing pitcher, tracking pucks into your hand, dealing with adversity, dealing with distractions. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer in sports that you're playing. I think that all sports are good because they give you something different. But I think anything, you know, soccer connects the mind to your foot. I don't know if that's necessarily hand-eye coordination, but neurology or whatever, it's sending a signal to be able to do what you want. And kind of closes the gap. So I think that's important. Or baseball, hand-eye, quick twitch fibers in your muscles. Even football, like team sport game, you know, learning to play with your teammates, learning to deal with losses, learning to deal with winning. I just feel like there's sometimes people look at it as, you know, what's going to directly relate to goaltending or to hockey. But I think that there's so many other ways to relate sports together. Outside of like goalie specific things.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
It was really interesting.
Yeah.
I hope you also enjoyed our new episode with Garrett. If you have any suggestions, if you have other subjects, please don't forget to comment and subscribe and share our talk show. See you next time.